Thanks for tuning in. 1970 marked a significant threshold before federal emission regulations and higher insurance premiums significantly impacted the performance of muscle cars. In this episode, we'll review 13 top-speed muscle cars from the year 1970. Stay tuned and be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel as we get into the countdown. Number 13. Chevy Camaro Z28, 100.3 miles per hour. Chevy had already seen significant success with the first-generation Camaro Z28, and the new 1970 model was made to dominate on both the street and the track, balancing power, handling, and everyday drivability. The Z28 featured a sleeker body with a lower profile, a longer hood, and a fastback roofline, all of which helped reduce drag. It had a slightly wider track and a longer wheelbase, enhancing its stability at high speeds. Under the hood was the LT1 350 cubic inch small block V8. This engine featured a forged steel crankshaft, 4-bolt main bearings, a high-lift solid lifter camshaft, and an 11-to-1 compression ratio. It produced 370 horsepower and 380 pound-feet of torque with the help of a 4-barrel Holley carburetor and aluminum intake manifold. The LT1 was mated to a 4-speed manual transmission, which helped the car complete the quarter mile at 100.3 miles per hour. Number 12. Dodge Superbird 440 6-pack, 102 miles per hour. The 1970 Dodge Superbird 440 6-pack was a spin-off from the Dodge Coronet lineup that competed with cars like the Plymouth Road Runner and Chevy SS. It was Dodge's entry into the budget muscle car market, and the introduction of the 440 6-pack engine option in 1970 elevated its performance to elite levels. The Superbird's bold front-end styling, including a bumblebee front grille and dual large round headlights, gave it a unique look while keeping airflow relatively streamlined for straight-line performance. Its heavy-duty torsion bar front suspension and leaf springs in the rear provided solid straight-line stability and decent cornering ability for its time. Under the hood was a 440 cubic inch V8, which featured 3 2-barrel Holley carburetors. This tri-carburetor setup, known as the 6-pack, was designed to provide massive airflow, maximizing the engine's power output under full throttle. The 440 6-pack was rated at 390 horsepower and 490 pound-feet of torque. It was mated to a 4-speed manual transmission that helped the car finish the quarter mile at 102 miles per hour. Number 11. Oldsmobile 442W3455, 103 miles per hour. The 1970 Oldsmobile 442W3455 was designed to compete directly with other muscle cars of the era such as the Pontiac GTO, Chevy SS, and the Dodge Charger. The 442 originated as a high-performance option for the Cutlass and quickly evolved into its own model by 1970, focusing on raw power and aggressive styling. Its fiberglass hood with dual air scoops fed cool air directly into the carburetor via the forced air induction system, increasing performance. The car's body was also slightly lowered, improving its stance and stability at high speeds. The 442W30 had a heavy-duty front and rear suspension, with reinforced springs and shocks designed to manage the immense power of the 455 engine. It also featured a rear sway bar, which helped reduce body roll during cornering and gave the car better control. Under the hood was a massive 455 cubic inch V8 featuring a more aggressive camshaft, better cylinder heads, and a lightweight aluminum intake manifold. The engine produced 370 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque with the help of a 4-barrel carburetor. Though gearheads claim it was capable of more, it was mated to a 4-speed manual transmission that helped the car finish the quarter mile at 103 miles per hour. Number 10. Pontiac Trans Am, 103.2 miles per hour. Pontiac had established itself as a leader in the muscle car market with cars like the GTO. The 1970 Trans Am was aimed to continue that legacy with more refined engineering, a focus on aerodynamics and power from a legendary V8 engine. The Trans Am featured a front air dam and a functional rear spoiler, both designed to reduce lift at higher speeds and improve overall stability. Additionally, the functional shaker hood scoop was mounted to the air cleaner to deliver cooler air directly into the carburetor, boosting engine performance. Its suspension system featured heavy-duty front coil springs and multi-leaf rear springs that enhanced the stability, while the addition of front and rear sway bars improved cornering ability. Under the hood was the Ram Air 400 cubic inch V8, officially rated at 370 horsepower and 445 pound-feet of torque, though it was believed to produce closer to 400 horsepower. The engine had more aggressive cam timing, higher flowing cylinder heads, and a higher compression ratio of 10.5 to 1. It was mated to a 4-speed manual transmission, which enabled the car to complete the quarter mile at 103.2 miles per hour. Number 9. Pontiac GTO Ram Air 400, 104 miles per hour. The 1970 Pontiac GTO Ram Air, also known as the Judge, had an aggressive front end with its recessed grille and quad headlight setup that helped reduce air resistance. More importantly, the functional Ram Air hood scoops channeled cold air directly into the carburetor, boosting engine power. The suspension had heavy-duty front coil springs and rear multi-leaf springs to manage the car's weight and provide better handling. The car also had a front anti-roll bar that reduced body roll in corners. Under the hood was a 400 cubic inch V8 that featured the Ram Air induction system, an evolution of the earlier Ram Air 3. Additionally, it had high-flow cylinder heads, a high lift camshaft, forged aluminum pistons, and a 10.5-to-1 compression ratio. This engine was officially rated at 370 horsepower and 445 pound-feet of torque. It was mated to a 4-speed manual transmission that helped the car finish the quarter mile at 104 miles per hour. Number 8. Plymouth GTX 426 Hemi, 104 miles per hour. The GTX stood out as a gentleman's muscle car. It was part of Chrysler's B-body platform and built to compete in the muscle car market as a more upscale alternative to the Plymouth Road Runner. The car boasted a relatively smooth front end with dual headlights integrated into a wide grille, which helped reduce air resistance. The muscular hood with optional hood scoops also allowed better air intake to cool the powerful Hemi engine. The GTX had front torsion bars and semi-elliptical leaf springs on the rear, both of which helped the car maintain stability during hard acceleration. Additionally, the car came with front and rear sway bars to reduce body roll. Under the hood was the mighty 426 cubic inch Hemi, featuring dual 4-barrel carburetors. This engine was officially rated at 425 horsepower and 490 pound-feet of torque, though the actual horsepower was closer to 450. It was mated to a 4-speed manual transmission, which enabled the car to complete the quarter mile at 104 miles per hour. Number 7. Plymouth Road Runner Superbird, 105 miles per hour. Plymouth created the Superbird as an evolution of the Plymouth Road Runner to compete with the dominant Dodge Charger Daytona in NASCAR racing. The Plymouth Superbird was specifically designed to slice through the air with minimal drag and to generate downforce, making it stable at the high speeds required for NASCAR competition. The suspension system was derived from the standard Road Runner but was upgraded to handle the extreme speeds the Superbird was capable of reaching. Under the hood was the 426 cubic inch Hemi V8 with dual 4-barrel carburetors, which helped it produce 425 horsepower and 490 pound-feet of torque. The engine was mated to a 4-speed manual transmission, which enabled the car to complete the quarter mile at 105 miles per hour. It's also worth mentioning that the overall top speed of the Superbird was recorded at just over 200 miles per hour. Let's dive in and cover the remaining 6 top-speed muscle cars from 1970 on our list. Also, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel, which helps us create more episodes. Number 6. Dodge Challenger RT 440 pack, 105 miles per hour. The 1970 Dodge Challenger RT 440 pack was a direct competitor to cars like the Ford Mustang and Chevy Camaro. The car had a wide stance and long, low profile that helped reduce lift and provide stability. Optional hood scoops allowed cooler air to flow into the engine bay, improving performance. Under the hood was a 440 cubic inch V8 with the famous 6-pack carburetor setup. These 3 2-barrel Holley carburetors helped produce 390 horsepower and 490 pound-feet of torque. The engine was mated to a 4-speed manual transmission, which helped the car complete the quarter mile at 105 miles per hour. Number 5. Buick GSX Stage 1455, 105.5 miles per hour. In 1970, Buick took the already potent Buick Grand Sport and added a performance package to rival the Chevelle SS, Pontiac GTO, and Oldsmobile 442. The GSX came with a large rear decklit spoiler, which helped reduce lift and provided some degree of downforce at higher speeds. Its functional hood scoops fed cool air into the engine bay, helping improve performance and power output. The car used a double wishbone front suspension with coil springs and a 4-link on the rear, also with coil springs. Under the hood was a 455 cubic inch V8 with larger valves, a more aggressive camshaft, a higher 10.5-to-1 compression ratio, and a recalibrated quadrajet 4-barrel carburetor that helped produce 360 horsepower and 510 pound-feet of torque. This engine was mated to a 4-speed manual transmission, which enabled the car to complete the quarter mile at 105.5 miles per hour. Number 4. Ford Torino Cobra 429, 105.9 miles per hour. The 1970 Ford Torino Cobra 429 SCJ body was designed with a streamlined profile that helped reduce drag. The long hood and fastback rear end improved airflow, making it more stable at high speeds. It came equipped with a functional hood scoop that provided fresh air to the engine for better performance and an optional rear spoiler to generate downforce during high-speed driving. Its suspension system featured a coil spring front suspension with a stabilizer bar and a multi-leaf rear setup for ride comfort. Under the hood was the massive 429 cubic inch V8, featuring larger intake and exhaust valves, a high-rise intake manifold, and a performance-oriented camshaft. It utilized dual 4-barrel carburetors, which helped it produce 375 horsepower and 450 pound-feet of torque. The engine was mated to a 4-speed manual transmission that enabled the car to finish the quarter mile at 105.9 miles per hour. Number 3. Chevy Chevelle SS454, 107 miles per hour. The Chevelle was originally introduced in 1964, but by 1970, Chevy sought to enhance its muscle car offerings with the introduction of the LS6 engine that would rival the Pontiac GTO and Ford Mustang. The 1970 Chevelle SS454 LS6 featured a streamlined body and a functional cowl induction hood that allowed cool air to flow directly into the engine. An optional rear spoiler provided some downforce and improved stability at higher speeds. The suspension system featured a front independent suspension with coil springs and a multi-leaf rear suspension. Its heavy-duty shocks and larger anti-roll bars helped enhance handling and stability. Under the hood was a 454 cubic inch V8 engine featuring larger intake and exhaust valves, a high-performance camshaft, and a high-rise intake manifold. It also utilized a 4-barrel carburetor that enabled it to produce 450 horsepower and 500 pound-feet of torque, but many car enthusiasts believe it produced closer to 500 horsepower. The engine was mated to a 4-speed manual transmission, which enabled the car to complete the quarter mile at 107 miles per hour. Number 2. Plymouth Road Runner 426 Hemi, 107.6 miles per hour. The 1970 Plymouth Road Runner 426 Hemi had a sleek, elongated body with a prominent front end and a tapered rear. It also featured functional hood scoops that directed cool air to the Hemi engine, enhancing performance, while an optional rear spoiler helped with downforce and stability during high-speed driving. The car featured a heavy-duty front suspension with torsion bars and a multi-leaf rear setup, which balanced ride comfort and handling. Under the hood was a 426 cubic inch Hemi V8 that produced 425 horsepower and 490 pound-feet of torque. It was mated to a 4-speed manual transmission that enabled the car to finish the quarter mile at 107.6 miles per hour. Number 1. Plymouth Barracuda 426 Hemi, 108 miles per hour. The Plymouth Barracuda was introduced in 1964 and evolved into a serious contender in the 1970s. It featured a sleek and aggressive design with a long hood and a fastback roofline that reduced drag and improved stability at higher speeds. The suspension system featured a front independent suspension with torsion bars and a multi-leaf rear suspension, which provided good handling characteristics while maintaining ride comfort. Under the hood was the iconic 426 cubic inch Hemi, officially rated at 425 horsepower and 490 pound-feet of torque. It was mated to a 4-speed manual transmission, enabling the car to finish the quarter mile at 108 miles per hour. Thanks for watching today's episode. Which of these muscle cars is your favorite? Let us know in the comments section below. Also, if you haven't already yet, please subscribe to our channel and don't forget to click the like button and hit the bell icon to be notified when we release new episodes.